Yo, what up, y'all? Welcome back to This Is Not a Podcast. This is definitely not a podcast. This is just my thoughts with Rob Markman. It is what it is. We know what we're here for today. Kendrick Lamar dropped another diss track towards Drake, 616 in LA. First, I want to say thank you to everybody. Yo, the fact that as soon as this dropped, y'all were hitting me on social media in the comments like, yo, we need that breakdown. This morning, it was funny because I did think a Drake track was coming last night. So my plan was to shoot an episode overnight and have it ready for the morning. Once that Drake track didn't come, I went up and got on about my day. The truth, just a little bit about me. You know, my pops has been sick. He was in the hospital a couple of weeks ago. He's back home now, but you know, he don't have his strength like he used to. He just needs a little more help getting around and stuff like that. So, you know, I had planned today. He had a doctor's appointment. So I'm like, nah, I'm gonna take my old man, you know, to his doctor's visit. And right when the track released, I'm like, I gotta do a video. Like, this is crazy. And then I caught myself and was like, nah, I gotta take care of my pop. So I appreciate y'all patience. I appreciate y'all riding with me. Um, you know, I love my life is boring. What do you say? I'm sorry, my life is boring. I love my peace. That's what Kendrick said, right? So look, we're gonna get right into this. I don't want to do the long talking because we got a lot to discuss. So 616 in LA. First of all, the title, right? The title alone is just a nod to Drake, right? We know this. Drake's famous timestamp records. We had 4 p.m. in Calabasas, 9 a.m. in Dallas, 5 a.m. in Toronto. You know the drill. All right. Kendrick also dropped this around 6 a.m. his time. That's savage. Maybe he knew, or maybe he thought a Drake joint was coming too. And maybe that's why he dropped it early. I'm not 100% sure. The significance of 616 though. 616 is also Tupac's birthday. We all know the inspiration that Kendrick is drawing from Pac. He talked about being on the set, watching Pac. I think it was To Live and Die in LA. I forget though. Damn, don't quote me. But he talked about, I remember talking to him in my interview. But he's talked about it a bunch of times about being on set, on a video set, watching Pac when he was young. Obviously, the Pac skit on Mortal Man, where they're having a back and forth conversation. And then, of course, Drake used an AI-generated Pac voice on the Tailor Made freestyle, and the estate had him take that down, right? So 616 is significant there. 616 was the premiere date of the HBO show Euphoria, which Drake was an executive producer on, and Dot's last diss was called Euphoria, and there's a whole theory around Euphoria and Drake and what Kendrick is alluding to. So there's that. This year, Father's Day lands on 616. And so remember on Euphoria, Kendrick had lines about Drake as a father and kind of questioned Drake as a father. There's theories about 616 being the true mark of the beast and not 666. I don't know. I'm not an expert on that. 616, 1994 was the start of the OJ trial. I don't know if Kendrick, that's not like a date that sticks out, but maybe because OJ was such a LA centered trial. And also the gloves on the song art, like maybe that alludes to that. And then also, here's a fun one. My man, shout out to Devious Minds, my man from Toronto. He's right outside of Toronto. He's from Brampton. But my man Devious Minds sent me a flyer. 616 2011 was Kendrick's first show in Toronto. So there's a lot of significance in 616. Now, look, man, Kendrick is very intentional. Nothing he really does is by accident. But do I believe that all of this, like he considered all of this when he named the track 616 in LA? Nah. Like that's a lot. I think the Drake timestamp thing is real. You know, I think Pac's birthday for sure. Maybe Euphoria premiere date since the last song was called Euphoria. Maybe Father's Day. Everything else I think is probably kind of like a coincidence. But that's ill. Okay, so let's get into the production real quick, right? The song was co-produced by Soundwave. So if you know Kendrick, you know Soundwave. It's one of Dot's main producers. And it was co-produced by Jack Antonoff. Now, if you don't know who Jack Antonoff is the front man to the group Bleachers. He's a brilliant songwriter and producer. I've interviewed him before for Genius. We did a verified episode. I remember sitting and talking to him. I'm like, yo, this dude is different. Just the way he thinks about music and putting stuff together. So he's a songwriter. He's a producer. He's produced a ton of Taylor Swift songs. He's like one of like Taylor's like go-to, all right? works very closely with her. So he co-produced this. And I think it's funny because on Push Ups, Drake had the, you better make a song for the Swifties. And Taylor made, Drake said, but now we gotta wait a fucking week because Taylor Swift is your new top. And if you about to drop, she gotta approve. This girl really about to make you act like you not in the feud. That was Drake kind of rushing Kendrick to do the diss track, but Taylor's album was coming out, so he was alluding that Drake was that Kendrick was in like collusion with Taylor and he needed approval from Taylor. So I think it is hilarious that for this song, Kendrick goes to Taylor's right-hand guy, Jack Antonoff, and gets a co-production credit. Shout out to Billboard. They confirmed it. So it's real. Another thing about the beat. I don't know if everybody realized. The beat samples Al Green's What a Wonderful Thing Love Is. And it's from his 1972 album, I'm Still in Love with You. Now follow me here. The song was produced by Willie Mitchell. And Mabon Teenie Hodges played guitar on the song, okay? And they both worked on a ton of Al Green songs. So they got a lot of Al Green credits under their belts. So this is the crazy part right here. Willie Mitchell is Dennis Graham's uncle. Teenie Hodges is Dennis Graham's cousin. And of course, again, for those following along, I know y'all know Dennis Graham is Drake's dad. So, that's crazy that you sample a joint for the diss track. Now, on one hand, I'm assuming maybe, but maybe not, that Drake's family has publishing on this record. But sometimes publishing gets sold, like you just never know. But so Drake's family could be like profiting off of this, but it's not on streaming yet, so who knows? But so on one hand, but sampling the man's family to send a diss back to him is crazy. So shout out to that. So we're gonna get into the lyrics, right? Because there's a lot, but I want to note a couple of things. First of all, the song came 3 days after Kendrick dropped Euphoria, right? Now, one of the knocks that people usually use against Kendrick is the time that he takes, right? He'll take several years before dropping an album. Drake, on the other hand, is omnipresent, right? Drake is on a 15-year run since like 2009, since So Far Gone. Like, Drake never really left the limelight. Like, even years that he didn't drop an album, he still maybe had a feature or something like, but we in the past 15 years, like, we haven't gotten a break from Drake. And I just want to say how a 15-year run is unprecedented. Like, that's hard. I don't know anybody who's had a 15-year run. We talk about Hove, and Hove has been great for a long time, but I'm talking about 15 years as like the top guy in hip hop, the top guy in music. 15 years is unprecedented. So I think it's very difficult to do what Drake does. It's also very difficult to do what Kendrick does, to go and take a 5-year hiatus and come back and think that the public is still going to wait for you. These guys approach music in two different ways. But like, you got to tip your hat to both of them because none of that is easy, right? But I just want to note, so the knock against Kendrick and what everybody's saying against Kendrick a lot is, well, he takes too long. Like, he's not going to be able to keep up with Drake. He's not going to be able to put out songs fast enough. And Euphoria came out 3 days ago, and 616 in LA 3 days later. Here we are. So this is Kendrick going back to back. Like, this is a Drake thing. When Drake dropped Charged Up and back to back, it was about 4 days apart. Drake, like, in this modern era, made like dropping back to back diss records a thing. And now Kendrick is taking it, showing, yo, I could do that too. When a lot of people didn't think K-Dot could do it. And remember on Euphoria, he told us back to back, I like that record. I'm going to get back to that for the record. Now, I'm not sure this is what he meant when he said that, but Kendrick going back to back, I think, is something that we cannot overlook, man. I think that's dope. Okay, and then one more thing before we get into the lyrics, right? Because we're going to dive into the lyrics. Remember on Euphoria, Kendrick said, why would I call around trying to get dirt on? Y'all think all my life is rap? That's whole shit. I got a son to raise, but I could see you don't know nothing about that, right? So this goes back to Drake's battle with Push, right? Pusha tweeted, this was a couple years ago, Pusha tweeted, you got 100K floating around for info? ? Can no amount of money create skeletons that don't exist? And I, for myself, like, I personally heard from somebody I don't want to say very close, but somebody close to to this whole battle and situation. This was around the time when it was heating up. This might have been around a couple of days before, or maybe just after 7 Minute Drill. Cole dropped 7 Minute Drill. But I had heard that Drake had paid somebody to follow Dot around or to get like information on Kendrick. Wasn't like a big secret. Like, again, you see the Pusha tweet, like this is something that it seems that Drake or OVO is known to do, right? Like when you got an opponent, like you're just trying to get dirt on them. But that's important here because one, Kendrick has a lyric about it later. But to me, this song 616 in LA exists in two parts. Part one is Kendrick telling us about his life. Yeah, he's rich, there's luxury, but it seems to be pretty chill. So, you know, anybody that you send to try to get dirt on it, you're not going to find it. Matter of fact, on the whole first part of the song, Kendrick is telling us what his day is like, what his life is like himself. So you didn't have to pay whoever you had to pay to go get that information. I'm going to give it to you right here on the record. Here it is. You know, as Kendrick says, his life is like pretty boring. So the first half of the song is Kendrick giving us all the dirt that we're looking for, or at least from his perspective. And what it seems is there is no dirt. Again, this is Kendrick's perspective. Drake may have dirt. Drake may have something. He may have something up his sleeve. We don't know. We got to hear the rebuttal. But all right, why would I call around trying to get dirt? And here, there's no dirt. There's no dirt that you're looking for. My life is boring. And then the second half of the record is like attack mode. All right, first bar is right off the top. Off-white Sunseeker at the marina, fuck a phantom. I like to buy yachts when I get the fever. Wine cooler spill on my white tee. The sightseer, trifecta, money, morals, and culture. That's my leisure. That just painting a very normal day, right? But it's also kind of a callback to like that, you know, when he says DOT, the money, power, respect. The last one is better. It's a lot of goofies with a check. You know, Dot's about his money. Again, money, morals, and culture. He's definitely about his money. This guy is not broke. He is not doing this for free. He's one of the most successful artists that we have in hip hop. That's not by accident. But power, respect, morals, culture. You know, these are things that are at the top of his list. Like, it's not just about money with this guy, right? Okay, so my visa, passport tatted. I show up in the Bisa. Lucalis dwellings in Brooklyn just to book me some pizza. Shout out to Brooklyn. You seen how Kendrick got New Ho King to go up. They got more business after he shouted them out in Euphoria. We may see more people going to Lucalis on Henry Street in Brooklyn. And then, you know, Dot just starts to go on about his relationship with God. If you listen to enough Kendrick, you know how important God is to him. You know, he says, who could reach us? Only God could teleport this type of freedom. God, my confession is yours, but who am I if I don't go to war? You know, Dot goes on. He just continues to go on in a very spiritual way, kind of like weighing the pros and cons of going to war, and talks about his love for his children. So this first part is really kind of like mundane. It feels like the everyday life, the peace, the just like chilling, the praying. But at the same time, in his mind, he's like weighing, you know, he's about to go bad. He's about to go to war. So he says, there's an opportunity when living with loss. I discover myself when I fall short, raise my hands to a falling sky. I fantasize, my jumping planets immortalized. I correspond, 3 angels watching me all the time. Put my children to sleep with a prayer and close my eyes. Definition of peace. You know, I just think he's painting the picture. I mean, this is inspirational for me. Again, I talked about, you know, my dad at the beginning, right? And just like, oh shit, I got to go to work, but now I got to take care of my family first. So it was funny when I was listening. Like I said, I was like, yo, I got to rush to do a video. But the lyrics started like resonating with me because it's just like, nah, you put family first. And I could be reading into this. This is just my reading. Dot might tell you something different. But literally in this diss track, he put family first. He put his peace first. He's telling us about his love for his family, his love for his peace first before he goes off as into war. But, you know, this part is interesting to me, man, because a lot of what Kendrick is doing in this battle is, you know, he's also attacking Drake's character, right? And there's a piece of knowing who you are, being able to look yourself in the mirror and going to sleep at night peacefully. Remember, after Cole dropped 7-Minute Drill, he walked the disc back at Dreamville and he spoke about peace and talked about in his career how he had finally found peace and he slept comfortably for 10 years, and that got disrupted in the couple of nights after he dropped 7 Minute Drill. So I get it. I get Cole's decision. I get why we're upset by it. You could not agree with Cole, but it seems like the one thing we can't accuse Cole of is Cole seems to know who he is. You know what I'm saying? And he seems to value that same type of peace that Kendrick does. Kendrick here would tell you he knows who he is. I don't know that Dot wrote this line thinking about Cole. I don't think so. I'm not putting that on him, but it's like an interesting parallel, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, just this concept of peace and Cole talking about his peace being disturbed and Kendrick starting the song about his peace. I don't know. I thought it was interesting. If I'm bugging, tell me I'm bugging. He goes on, tell me who gonna stop me. I come from love. Estelle cover my heart, then open me up. I come from love. I think he's talking about his ancestors. I'm not exactly sure who Estelle is. Maybe some of y'all know, but let me know. But she was close to Kendrick. Maybe like a grandmother type or aunt or just like an elder. Or maybe it's just because Estelle also sounds like a aunt's name or a grandmother's name. I'm not exactly sure, but was close. Because on United in Grief, he said, I was 9 when they put Lamar in the grave. Heartbroken when Estelle didn't say goodbye. Chad left his body after we FaceTime. So this is somebody very close to him. He's talking about his physical family and his family, his ancestors. And Estelle covers my heart. Then she opened me up. I come from love. You know what I mean? Again, these next lines to me are about knowing who you are, knowing yourself. Remember I said like the culture versus commerce angle in the past video, like, but even more so, like, why are you in this? Why are you in this music thing? Who are you? Kendrick told Drake in Euphoria, only you want to be famous. So it's like this fame versus what being an artist or whatever it is. Like those things are not synonymous, right? Like not all great artists are famous. Not all famous people are great artists. And it seems like Kendrick is continuing to try to draw this parallel. But here, Dot, rather than tell us about Drake, here though, Kendrick is telling us about himself. So he starts telling us these reasons. Remember when picked up a pen, lyrics that I could trust. Timid soul stare in the mirror asking where I was from. Often I know this type of power is going to cost, but I live in the circadian rhythms of a shooting star, the mannerisms of Raphael. I can heal and give you art, but the industry's cooked as I pick the carcass apart. So it starts to get, again, he's remembering why he got into this, right? Penning lyrics that you could trust. Timid soul in the mirror asking where I was from. Like he had to find himself before he could give it to us. And then often I know this type of power is going to cost. What is this power going to cost? This thing of being in the limelight, being famous, being one of the top rappers, one of the best ever. Sometimes it's going to cost you your peace, right? The mannerisms of Raphael, I can heal and give you art. So again, I think, and this is just my interpretation. I think this is him saying, yo, I'm an artist. Like, I just want to paint. But the industry's cooked. The industry is fucked up right now. So watch, I'm going to pick the carcass apart. Being able to look yourself in the mirror is important. The peace of sleeping at night. These are all things that Kendrick values. It comes at a cost. The cost is going to war. All right. And the next line starts right away, right? Like the industry's cooked as I pick the carcass apart. And this is when the tonal shift happens and the violence comes. Like now I'm getting at you. You know what I'm saying? So, first he throws shots at DJ Academics right away, saying that he's compromised, that his relationship with Drake, Drake calls him, Drake provides him information, Drake releases records through him, the access that he gets through Drake. Kendrick is saying Ack is compromised. But now, let's be real. And we talk about this a lot in the comments. I've seen a lot of like academic comments in our comment section in these videos. I think Ack and myself do different things, even though we're both in media. And we have different approaches. Ack has a huge audience. Ack has a huge voice. When these institutions start breaking down, when I was coming up, it was XXL was the voice, was the institution, and I came up out of XXL, or MTV News, and I came up out of that. Even Genius, but the brands were the most recognizable thing. And then those of us who came up out of that was second and had to build our name. So myself, Elliott Wilson came out from The Source, came out from XXL. Then he like really became Elliott Wilson. I'm really still in my journey of becoming Rob Markman outside of a brand. Ack is a brand onto himself. Like Ack, no matter what you feel about him, Ack has a huge audience, a huge voice. but Kendrick is questioning, can that be trusted? So he says, yeah, somebody's lying. I could see the vibes on that. Even he looking compromised. Let's peel the layers back. Then Kendrick comes to the defense of Anthony Saleh, who's part of his management team now. Ant's a really good guy from what I know, right? I met Ant from managing Nas, doing like interviews and stuff with Nas. So Ant still manages Nas. Smart guy, brilliant guy, like great business mind. Seemingly just makes all the right moves, and I always enjoy dealing with him. Ant also used to manage Future, but he may still manage Future. Don't quote me on that. And he works with Kendrick's team. Obviously, we know Dave Free, but Ant was brought on to be a part of that team a couple of years ago. So when Drake was pressing Dot for a response, remember, he posted Ant on his IG stories. And Ant is kind of like a civilian. Ant's not a tough guy. He's not I don't really think, I don't know. I'm not there, but I never got the sense that Ant had a lot to do with this. Like, this is Kendrick's decision to go at Drake. So Kendrick goes, ain't no brownie points for beating your chest, harassing Ant. Fucking with good people make good people go to bat. All right. And then this next line could have a few different meanings. Conspiracies about Cash Dog, that's not even the leak. For one, the theory that Drake presented about Kendrick on push-ups, that he was being extorted by Top Dog. All right. Like that, it has to do with money, right? So conspiracies about Cash Dog, that's not even the leak. Like, yo, that's the dirt you got on me. That's not even it. But it could also be conspiracies about Cash from XO, who Drake also mentioned on push-ups. Cash on the XO team is the Weeknd's manager. Cash blowing Abel bread out here tricking. Shit we do for bitches, he doing for... So it could be he's also defending Cash from XO, because like Kendrick had just came out of talking about Ant, who's a target because of his proximity to Kendrick. And then Cash is a target because of his proximity to the Weeknd. So Kendrick may be telling Drake here, yo, you calling out the people around the people you need to be battling. And that comes up later, because then Dot also starts calling Drake's circle into question. Again, I'm not 100% sure. And it could also have a double meaning. I wasn't exactly sure. I was like, damn, well, why is Kendrick sticking up for Cash from EXO? I don't know that they had such a close relationship, but it also kind of makes sense that because he's sticking up for Ant. Ant's the manager, Cash is the manager. It's like, dog, you going at the managers. Like, these guys have nothing to do with this. Like, come at me or come at the Weeknd. But that's just my best reading of it. Not 100% sure. But it is interesting, though, because he starts to, like I said, call OVO the surrounding members into question. He doesn't name names, but when we get down later into the lyrics, he starts to like just plant seeds of doubt within the OVO organization. All right, so next is find the jewels like Cash Doll. I just need you to think. I ain't gonna lie, I thought about this one. I was like, yo, I need me to think too. I'm not sure the Cash Doll line, other than the fact that in 2021, she said that she had $500,000 worth of jewelry stolen from her car. I don't know. So if somebody knows what the Cash Doll line is, we work as a team here, right? Like, I love the fact that I could say what I think, but in the comments we have dope discussions. I came back last time and made a second video on Euphoria just based off of the stuff that we talked about in the comments and the discoveries we made together. So if you like that type of follow-up video, please let me know. I'll keep that going. I don't 100% get this Cash Doll line. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know everything. So maybe y'all can help me out. But here's when Kendrick starts to get into the mind games, maybe like to fuel some paranoia in Drake. The type that paranoia that makes folks like maybe not sleep at night, or, disturbs his peace, right? Again, in the first half of the record, Kendrick is rapping about his peace, and it feels like he's trying to disturb Drake's peace right here, right? So this is what he says. Are you finally ready to play? Have you ever? Let's see. Have you ever thought that OVO was working for me? Fake bullies. I hate bullies. You must be a terrible person. Everyone inside your team is whispering that you deserve it. Can't Tootsie slide out of this one? It's just going to resurface. Obviously, a reference to the Drake song Tootsie Slide. But this is becoming like, which also, Tootsie Slide was also a Michael Jackson reference for Drake. So the Michael Jackson thing always seems to come up. it was also like a street record. It was presented as like a dance record, but about sliding on people. It had very like dark undertones. But he's just setting up, and I think Kendrick is playing mind games here. He says every dog gotta have his day. Now living your purpose. A reference for all the dogs, which is a Drake album, but also just going back to this idea of like, yo, who are you? Who is Drake really? Who is Kendrick really? And this idea of living in your purpose. At the beginning of the song, it seemed like Dot was describing his purpose and his piece to be an artist, right? With the Raphael and I can heal and give you art. And now it seems that he's questioning Drake's purpose. It was fun until you started to put money in the streets, then lost money because they came back with no receipts. I'm sorry that I live a boring life. I love peace, but war ready if the world is ready to see you bleed. Again, this goes back to this euphoria line. Why would I call around trying to get dirt on y'all think rap is my life? That's whole shit. I got a son to raise. But I can see you don't know nothing about that. You think my whole life is rap. You don't know nothing about that. That's how the rhyme scheme was. I messed it up. But it goes back to euphoria. So this idea that Drake hired somebody to get dirt. So it was all fun. So you started putting money in the streets, then lost money because they came back with no receipts. I'm sorry that I live a boring life. I love peace, but war ready if the world is ready to see you bleed. That's my favorite line. I'm sorry that I live a boring life, but I love peace. I think there's the crux to the song. I think there's that inspiration for the song right here. Drake sent someone to follow Dot around, like on some private investigator vibe, or just sent somebody to kind of like dig up information on Dot, and they didn't find anything. And maybe it's that Kendrick's circle is tight. You know what I'm saying? And or maybe it's that he lives a boring life, right? They might have found him on the white yacht drinking wine coolers. If they peeked into his windows, he's putting the kids to bed, saying prayers, like pretty boring stuff, but it's meaningful. So it's like instead of paying for that info, Dot is almost like, yo, you could have just asked me. I would have revealed it just like I revealed it in this verse, right? That's just my reading into it. But it's also like maybe there is no info, or, Dot circle is tight, so you're not going to get any, as opposed to, what he's trying to say about OVO. Like maybe things are not as clicking as they seem. But I want to play devil's advocate, because on Euphoria, Kendrick said, fabricating stories on the family front because you heard Mr. Morale, a pathetic master manipulator. I could smell the tails on you now. Now, if you listen to that album, Kendrick talks about past infidelities, trouble at home. Now, all of that could be resolved right now at this moment. We don't know. But as much as Kendrick paints this peaceful picture, we know that for all of us, right? Like life isn't always like that. Like there's turmoil sometimes, even in our home. As much as we try to have peace at home, there's turmoil. So maybe there is dirt. Or maybe Kendrick revealed all his dirt already on Mr. Morale. And, so I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like we don't know any of these guys' personal lives, but it's interesting this concept of digging up dirt, and I think it's so expected now, even from us, the fans. Like, yo, what are you gonna reveal? And Kendrick is making it seem like, hey, there ain't nothing to reveal. You hired somebody, and you didn't find anything. Pusha too, you gave $100K out there to find something, and you can't find what isn't there. Because obviously he didn't have anything on Pusha T. So we'll go on though. The Elohim KTW. No, you can't sleep. These images trouble you. No, the whys in your circle should puzzle you. If you were street smart, then you would have caught that your entourage is only to hustle you. Again, there's the can't sleep part. There's the uneasiness. This is the same shit that Cole was talking about when he bowed out of, going against Kendrick. No, you can't sleep. These images trouble you. Cole wasn't going through this. Cole is surrounded by, Eve and Boss and guys that he actually grew up with. So I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is when your peace is disturbed, when you can't sleep at night. So Kendrick is saying, yo, I know you can't sleep at night. These images trouble you. Just Drake not knowing who to trust, according to Kendrick, right? You know what I'm saying? But, as much as Drake talks about mob ties and stuff, Kendrick is suggesting that Drake doesn't have the street smarts. Even though he's dissing him, the tone he's taking is like, yo, let me put you on, right? Like, if you were street smart, then you would have caught that your entourage is only to hustle you. If you were street smart. So Kendrick, again, painting the difference. Yo, I'm come from it. I come from Compton. I could see this play a mile away. You're blind to it. let me put you on. So it's funny because he's dissing them, but he's kind of coming like as a friend, as a homie. 100 is that you got on salary, and 20 of them want you as a casualty. And one of them is actually next to you, and two of them is practically tied to your lifestyle. Just don't got the audacity to tell you. Or two of them is practically tied to your lifestyle and don't have the audacity to tell you. So yeah, let me do that again. 100 you got on salary, 20 of them want you as a casualty, and one of them is actually next to you, and two of them is practically tied to your lifestyle. They just don't have the audacity to tell you. So what's going on in the OVO camp? You know, when push-ups drop, I said this. I said, and I don't know if it's to this. This is Kendrick saying this, right? Here's what Rob is saying, right? When push-ups drop, I said I felt that OVO did Drake a great disservice, man. I felt like the sloppiness of how that record was leaked ruined the rollout, because we spent the first 2 hours wondering if it was AI before we were like enjoying the record and dissecting the bars and seeing it. And Push-Ups is a dope record, and seeing what Drake did on the record, we didn't even know if it was real. So and what leaked was an early unmastered version, like somebody in the camp, and I don't know. Well, I'm not suggesting that the leak was malicious from OVO, but it was sloppy. Like for somebody of Drake's stature, like that record should have never leaked. He should have rolled that out in the way that he intended. This also goes back to the Pusha T beef. All right, when Pusha appeared on the Joe Budden podcast, it was after the beef with Drake. He revealed, everybody assumed that it was Kanye that told Pusha that Drake had a son, right? You know, story of Adidon. You know, Pusha reveals that Drake has a son that, you know, the world didn't know about. So everybody assumed Kanye told him. But Pusha says on the Joe Budden podcast that he heard it through a woman who 40 had a relationship with. And with that, you know, that's pillow talking, man. And Pusha added to some dissension, like on top of that, not just knowing that he had a son, but maybe people in the camp weren't so happy with Drake. So Pusha, at least with that, starts to paint some picture that there's some cracks in the camp. And I don't think Pusha and Kendrick are colluding in this. Like, it's just a coincidence. It's just almost an extension of what we're seeing. So maybe it's true, but maybe it's not. Only they really know what's going on. But from a diss record perspective, like this is a pretty, like, you know, I talk about angles a lot, right? This is a pretty dope angle. It's almost more so like a psychological, I'm gonna fuck with you angle. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting. I would pay money to be a fly on the wall and see like what happened in the OVO camp when everybody heard this. Like, did they laugh it off? They could have laughed it off, like, this motherfucker's bugging. You know, the click is tight. But or did they start pointing fingers and being like, yo, you know, who's the mole? Who's the crack? You know, in the wall or whatever. But I'm gonna go on. He says, but let me tell you some game, cause I could see you, my little homie. Let me tell you some game, cause I could see you, my little homie. You playing dirty with propaganda, it blow up on you. You're playing nerdy with Zach B and Twitter bots. Again, he's dissing him, but he's coming as a friend. Now, Zach B, if you don't know, is a party promoter. He's a DJ. He signed Yeet, influential guy in California from Beverly Hills. Came up, I think he came up in Beverly Hills. I'm assuming he has some money. He has some means. I don't know exactly what his net worth was before he got on, but, you know, I don't think they were doing bad for themselves. He's not quite hip hop, not someone we would say is from the culture like that, but like obviously like friends with Drake. There's pictures of him and Drake, like they've been around. So, you know, you're playing nerdy with Zach B and Twitter bots. And then he also Drake or Drake supporters. I don't know if Drake is doing it himself or it could be the OVO fan community or somebody from OVO. I don't know what it is, but Drake and his supporters have been accused of using Twitter bots to spam people who oppose him. So Pusha T was a victim of that. You saw a lot of Twitter bots, just Pusha T trying to degrade him on Twitter, just spamming. More recently, Carly Hustle. Shout out to Carly Hustle. If you don't know her, she works in the industry. I love her. Carly Hustle is an amazing voice, an amazing person. Most recently, she's complained about being spammed by Twitter bots because I think she was giving her thoughts on the records and the Drake records and Drake and Kendrick and where they stood, and you know she was pro Kendrick, I believe, and to what degree I don't know exactly what she said, but I saw her on Twitter complaining about being spammed by Twitter bots. So this is a tactic that Drake or at least the OVO fan base or somebody on Drake's behalf is using these Twitter bots. So he talks about you playing nerdy with Zach being Twitter bots, but your reality can't hide behind Wi-Fi. Again, reality. Who are you really? Who are you online? Who do you present to us? But your reality can't hide behind Wi-Fi. Your little memes is losing steam. They figured you out. After Kendrick dropped Euphoria and the line about hating the way Drake walks and talks, and that also might have been a clip from DMX Breakfast Club interview. It seems like it matches up with what DMX was saying to Charlamagne and Angela Yee and Envy. But after that line, after that song, Drake posted a clip of Julia Stiles from the movie 10 Things I Hate About You on his IG stories. And she's like, it's like it mimics that moment. It's almost like to the T. I'm not going to lie. Yes, it was a meme. It wasn't a diss track. I laughed. When Drake posted that, I laughed. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. But, are we making music or are we making memes? So according to Kendrick, your little memes is losing steam. They figured you out. I thought that meme was funny, though. The forced opinions is not convincing. Y'all need a new route. It's time you look around on who's around you. Before you figure that you're not alone, ask what Mike would do. At the end, we get another Michael Jackson reference, right? This has been ongoing. Drake's comparisons to Michael Jackson, the Billboard Hot 100 record. Kendrick mentioned Prince outlived Mike Jack on the Like That record. That was a lyric. Drake said Prince was MJ's son. And then, of course, You Are Not Alone is a reference to MJ's 1995 song. And, maybe if we get a little more darker, is that Michael Jackson's death was ruled a homicide, right? We know this after an overdose, after he was given drugs by his doctor, Conrad Murray, somebody who he trusted, somebody within his camp, somebody who was supposed to take care of Mike. In 2011, Murray was convicted of involuntary manslaughter in Jackson's death for having inadvertently overdosed him with a powerful surgical anesthetic, propofol. I can't read the propofol. I always mess that up, but y'all know what I'm talking about, which was being improperly used as a bedtime sleeping agent. So, again, the doctor who's supposed to help Mike ease his pain, Mike couldn't sleep, right? Like that's the thing too. So much of this record is about sleeping at night. So the drug was used improperly as a bedtime sleeping agent to help Mike sleep because Mike couldn't sleep. So the end of the record kind of gets dark. Before you figure that you're not alone, ask what Mike would do. And we know the unfortunate way that Mike died. And again, it was somebody who he trusted. So to me, that just adds to the paranoia. Like that's a crazy kind of way to end the record. And again, maybe Kendrick didn't intend for that, but that's what happened. That's the way that I'm reading it. That was a lot. Right now, as far as this battle goes, I got Kendrick in the lead. Kendrick is up. Like, hey, that's just the way between Euphoria and this, him dropping back to back. People not expecting that from Kendrick. These are dope records. Right now, Kendrick is up. Drake has to respond to this. I fully expect him to. And, the way it's kind of been going when Drake responds with push-ups, like Drake kind of takes the lead and Kendrick came back and Kendrick takes the lead. Like, this one's going to be hard to judge because these guys do two different things. And also, I think the fandoms make it hard to judge. I don't know what happens when Drake comes back. You know what I'm saying? I'll let you know. But right now, as it stands right now, Kendrick is up to me. Kendrick is leading the pack in this. And I want to see what Drake comes back with. But, like, subscribe, comment. You know the deal. I'm right there in the comment section with y'all. And, man, I appreciate y'all, man. Just it's just me in the room. It's just my thoughts. Just my thoughts, right? All right? Peace.